Okay guys, so this is part 3 of the Newbies Bricks course. Excuse all the noise around me. I was actually delaying this video because all the maintenance happening around me today. But I didn't want to delay any longer, so if you can hear anything in the background, please excuse that. Okay, so in the previous episode, we created a framework using bricks variables. So we created our site variables, spacing, topography, gaps, and grids. Today we're going to create some colors in bricks. We're going to map those to our framework here. I'll explain why as we go on. And I'm also going to create a couple of extra things like radiuses and things like that that we can use. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is create some colors in bricks. To do that, we're going to go into our theme styles and go into our colors. And we need to click on one of these little teardrop, paint drop, whatever thing it is, the icon. We need to click on one of those to bring up our colors. It's a really weird way of doing it, but that's how you do it. Okay, and we're going to look at the edit list view. And the first thing I'm going to do is delete all of these colors. So I'm just going to delete them all because we don't want those. So just got to keep double clicking on that little trash can. So we've got no colors there at all. We're then going to just use this hue slider here so you can see the changing color up there. We might set our primary at say there and hit the save, and that gives us color 1. Okay, we're going to edit that by clicking the pencil. We're going to type primary. Okay, and we're going to save that by hitting the tick in the middle there. The way bricks works is that all we have to do is change one of the sliders and it gives us a new color when we hit save. So we're going to make a dark version of this. So I'm just going to drop that down and hit save. And we might just brighten it up and hit save as well. So we're going to have a bright version, like a very light version. Hit save, edit this one. By the way, you've got to use the buttons. If you use the enter key, it doesn't do anything. So primary, dark. And if I press enter key or click somewhere else, it will not save. I have to click the save tick. I've got to click in there, and then I've got to click on the pencil, and we've got to change that to primary light. Okay, hit the save. All right, now we're going to just pick our primary dark color again. Let's change that here. So we want this, maybe this green sort of a color, like that. Maybe there, that'll do. Hit save. That's going to be our secondary. Save. We're going to do a dark version of that. So that's out there. Save. We're going to do a light version of that, a very light version. Save. Secondary light. The tick. Click in there, click the pencil. Oh, I did that the wrong way around, sorry. Secondary light. And strangely, Bricks lets me save it, and the reason it does is because it doesn't use these names. Dark. Okay, now let's do a neutral. So we're going to take all of our saturation out, and we'll use this lightness slider to give us a bit of a neutral there. We'll call that our neutral. There, save. We're going to do a neutral dark. We'll save that. And we're going to do a neutral light, and we'll do an ultra light as well. So do a light, and then we'll do an ultra light. We could do an ultra dark as well. So this will be used for basic dividing of sections and things like that, borders, things like that. So save. So we're going to call that our neutral. So on here will be our neutral dark. Neutral light. Not loot. Light. And we're going to do a neutral ultralight. Okay, let's save on that. We're going to do one more or two more colors, which will be a white. Save, and we'll do a black. Save. This will be our white. And that will be our black. Okay, so we've got some color palettes going on here. Now, this is fine if we're going to use these. For example, if we select a cell here, go into our styles, get our background and change our background and use those. We can click on the list so we can see the names of those if we want. Let's say we want next our primary. That's all well and good, but let's have a look at what it actually does. So if I have a look at the front end here, save that. In fact, that's not doing anything because I forgot I did not put anything inside there. Let's just put some text in there, so basic text. Okay, basic text. Let's have a look inside there. And if we have a look at our colors, what we'll see is that color there is using, that's it there, the cell. Where are we? Background color is bricks color. And see, we got this random string here. So that random string is what it named the color in bricks, which means nothing to us if we're going to use this in CSS later. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go back here. I'm going to create another section here. In that section, we're just going to put a bunch of icons there. So I'm just going to do an icon. Where are we? Icon. We'll make that try and make it something reasonably easy to see. What do we got here? Is there a circle? That'll do. That'll do. Okay, and we're just going to duplicate that a number of times. And on the first one, we're just going to set our color to be our primary. Second one, we'll go to our primary dark. Third one, we'll go to our primary light. We'll just step through these. Secondary. Dark. Light. Neutral. Neutral dark. To do neutral lights. White. And black. Okay, what do we have here? What's going on with that one there? That's correct, isn't it? And the next one there, what do we set that to? Oh, they are showing up correctly. Okay, they are actually different colors, just can't tell in the icon there. All right, actually what I might do is change that to be a flex row so I can see those in a row, nice and easy. Okay, now what we know is we've got our primary. Is our primary? Is that our primary? That should be our primary. Oops. Primary dark. I must have messed this up. I'm going to go through and do this again. Primary light. Secondary. Secondary dark. Secondary light. Neutral. What's going on here? It's got these boxes around everything. So what's that there? That's our secondary dark, secondary light, neutral, neutral dark, neutral lights, ultralights, that's white I should say, and black. I think I'm missing one here. I missed an ultralight, didn't I? Okay, we'll come back to that. Hit the save on that. All right. Now what we'll see in the front end here is if we look at each of these, we can see what they actually been assigned to. So we're looking at these icons. We can see those colors there are the ones we want. So how we map these is we go back to our home builder here, go into our settings, not our settings, sorry, into our classes. We're going to create a new class categories called, we'll call this color map. Okay, let's do FW primary. Okay, I'm just going to put a in there for the moment so we can create multiples of these. Primary 2 dashes because it's a modifier. Dark. Dash dash light. Anything in there just so we can get it in here. We'll do secondary. Secondary dark. Light. Okay, we have FW neutral. I'll show you why we do this a little bit later. And we had neutral dark. Light. Actually, we didn't need to put anything in there. Ultralight. And we have FW. Black. And we have FW. White. So there's our colors that we need. So to find these, we go to our first one, and we know that that's our primary. There's our color there. So we grab the whole thing, the variable, from our Chrome DevTools, and we paste that into our primary. Okay, we go back to the next one, which is our primary dark. So we don't want the semicolon at the end, by the way. We'll take that out. Don't want the semicolon there. We're then going to go to the next one, which is this one here, which will be our light. We then go to the next one. So it takes a little bit of effort to get this set up. This is our secondary color. Secondary dark. Secondary light. Is that right? Is that the... Oh, that doesn't look right, does it? Okay, what do we got here? Okay guys, I just had to stop and restart this video. Just updated to Bricks 1.11 and it comes with some editor bugs, unfortunately. So what was happening is when I would duplicate one of these icons, it was sometimes duplicating multiple of them. If I selected one element, it was selecting multiples. So it was doing all sorts of weird things. I've also found that sometimes when I assign a class to an element, it just assigns a completely different class. So there's some bugs in this current release. Hopefully they'll get those resolved shortly. But let's return back to where we were, which was looking at these color maps. So we got our color names here, and I've got those colors from Bricks. So I'm going to go to my secondary light. So let's have a look in here, back to there, back to our, I think we got to our primary. Actually, where did we get to? So I think we got to our secondary dark and secondary dark. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them done. So let's go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just double check. That's ending in PQ. That's ending in PQ. That's correct. So we want to get the next one and grab the variable name there. Paste that in here. The next one. So we're not far off now. Okay, just a few more to go. We're getting there, guys. Couple more. The right one, ending in JK. That ended in JK, so we're on the next one. So I wish Bricks would actually name these variables from the names you give them, but unfortunately it gives you a random name, which means we have to do this kind of map. So that should be our white, and this should be our black. Except that no, that was the other way around. We got the, that's the black. Open the wrong way around, sorry. And the other one here was our white. You can tell by that, obviously, that little swatch there. Okay, so there's our colors there. Okay. Now, what we're going to do here is look at how we utilize those colors. So I'm going to go and just delete all of those icons now. I'm going to add them back again. What are we going to do? We're going to add some icons, just easy. 2, 3, 4, however many we need. We'll just grab a few. Okay, icon 1. So if we went to the color for icon 1 and went to our raw value, we should be able to do primary, and we get our color primary there. Okay, and that's exactly the same as using this up here. It maps to it. And if we want to use that one there, we can go to that, go to our color, go to our raw, and we go primary. And this is the primary dark. Okay, next one, color, raw, primary. And that's our primary light. Primary light, there we go. So we're using these framework variables which map through to the random strings that Bricks gives it. Now, using it in this context probably doesn't make much sense, but where it does make sense, I'll show you where it does make sense. Let's say, for example, we create a structure here, and we're going to create a card. So let's put a box there, put a block there, and what we're going to do is inside that block, we're going to put another block, and we're going to call this a card. And this is our header. Body footer. Okay. Call this a test card. And then what I can do here is grab give that a name. So I'm going to give it test. Okay, and on our header, I'm going to call that test card header. Body. We're going to give it class names so that we can show you where you use these variables in your settings. Okay, we'll put a basic heading. Maybe we'll put some basic text in there, and maybe we'll put a text link in the bottom. So text link there. Okay, so let's give these actual names. Right, text. And we'll call that. Okay, so we've created a structure there where we can create a card. So on our test card, we're going to, first of all, we're going to go to our our padding and our style on our test card, typography and layout, I should say layout, and link them. And we're going to use our space of medium. And that only put it on there, so space medium all the way around. Let's go to our border. And we're going to put a border on here of 1 pixel all the way around. And solid, and we're going to pick a color there. Now we can pick one of these colors, or we can go in there and we can pick it from there. So let's go our neutral light. Maybe we'll use the ultralight for that border. Okay, and then that's mapped to that actual value in the framework then, rather than to that bricks random thingo. All right, let's go to the heading. On the heading, typography, again, we're going to map that to our primary. So we'll go primary dark. You get the picture, you get the picture. So in the test card here, we can also go to our content, and let's put a row gap of a content gap. So we've got a content gap there, so we've got consistent spacing. And now we've got a border on there. You might be able to adjust here because I use the ultralight. Next thing we want to add is a border, a radius. So let's add some radius options here. So let's go back to our framework here, and we'll create a new category, radius, radii maybe. And in the radii, we're going to create a FW radius, and let's make that the space M. So var, so it links it to the clamped size. FW -M. So we go FW space M. Save that. Let's do a radius. Actually, let's do a radius multiplier. No, we won't, because it's going to be really simple. So I'm just going to do a radius --S, and that'll be a calc of our FW radius. Divided by 2. Okay, and let's do a radius L, and we'll grab that calc, stick it there, and this time we'll multiply by 2. All right, so we've got some radius in here. Hit save. Okay, let's go to our test card. Here's our test card here. Go to our borders, and our border here. We're going to go to we're going to link our radius, and we put radius. So we'll get our radius. Now we've got a radius on our border. Let's go to, actually, let's add an inner inside there. So I'm going to, in my test card, I'm just going to add another block. That block in there, I'm going to call that my inner. Just going to grab the name from that. I think I called it test card. I did. So on my test card inner. Test card inner. We'll chuck everything inside there. Oops, too far. Now on our inner, we need to put our row gap as our content gap. So we've got a content gap. Let's chuck some padding on there. So in this case, what we're going to do in our layout for our padding, we'll do our space small. Okay. And then what we're going to do is on our border and box shadow, let's put a border on that, length sides with 1, and let's do a solid. In this case, just to be different, we're going to use, again, we'll use our raw value here. We're going to use our primary light. Okay, so it's just a little different. And for our border, we're going to use, oops, we're going to use our radius S. Did that select it? No, it didn't. Did. Radius S. Okay, let's have a look at what's going on here. Why that didn't apply properly. So the border color, but the radius did not. It's our inner. Radius S. My bad. I forgot to use, in here, I forgot to use my var. So the beauty of this is you only need to do it once, save it, that becomes your platform. Okay, now we've got concentric borders because we've got our outer radius as being our space M, and our inner radius is our space M divided by 2. So you can create multiples of these, and I've gone from a space M for my padding on the outside and a space S for my padding on the inside. So there's a concentric radius, and there's a reduction in spacing as well as we go in. And it's all responsive. So if we look at, for example, the padding on that, we get our computed, we can see the padding at 25 there all the way around. So 2.5 rem. If we scale down below 1200, we can see that padding value dropping. We have a look at our heading, for example, here. It's sitting there at a font size of 27. As we go above, it gets to 31.2. Scroll down, go down to here. Once we get below 480 or whatever, we're at 23.4. So everything is responsive, everything is working as expected, and that is pretty much it. That is pretty much how you would start your framework, add to it as you need to. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a button. I'm going to create a button. So let's do a button. So I'm going to put a button there. And on that button, we're actually going to have to create utility classes for this. So I'm going to call this FW for the utility class of framework utility class of button. And we're going to change the way this works a little bit later. Now, because we're not using the external code manager, we can't add global now, because we're not using a external code manager, we're just using bricks, we can't add these global classes in any other way. So I'm going to show you some ways we can do this, and then another way I think is a better way. Okay, so first we're going to create a FW button class, or BTN. And what we're going to do is in our CSS, we're going to go from our root. Yes, we're going to go from root, where root will refer to that button class. And we're going to create some variables here. So we're going to call it the root background, BG, and we'll call that our primary. Oops. So we don't have the autocomplete like we get with Advanced Seamer, but we do have this variables here where we can select from there. We can select our colors. I'm not sure how that would work with the, let's try that. So root, border, color, and we'll make that the same. Okay, and we're going to do the same for the root color. And I'll just grab that variable and just make that our primary light for now. And so we're just going to assume that our standard button is a primary button. Okay, that's that there. Now the root border color. Okay, root. Block. padding. We're going to use a space variable. I wish you could do some, oh, there we go, you can search. So if I put in a space, X, we'll do XS for that. And we'll do the same for our inline padding. We can always change this a little bit later if we want to. Okay, block and inline padding. What else might we need? A radius. And we're going to use a radius variable here of just a radius. Again, you can change these. We're going to then do a root, border, width. We'll just do that, say 2 pixels. All right, now we need to apply these. So these are settings. Now we need to apply that. Okay, so we're going to do background. And we're going to use our root BG. Okay, we're going to do our color of our root color. We're going to do a border of our border color. Border color. So, sorry, we need a width color. Two pics, and then solid. So it's the width, the type, and then the color. There we go. Border radius. What a radius. There's our radius there. Okay. What else do we need? So we got color, block padding. Padding block. Okay, so we've got some basics there. For some reason, we're going to put a line height on there as well too. One. Okay. Why do we not have a padding inline root block? Inline padding. Okay, root BG. FW primary color. I'm not sure why that isn't working there. Let's have a look at that just to start with. Okay, what's happening with our button? Okay, span. Styles. Background. What the? Why am I not getting a red? What is going on here? This is a bricks override here. Background color. So we need to make this more specific. Okay, so what's happening here is a CSS override where the bricks default CSS defines our background primary, with an extra bit of specificity here. So we've got root, background color, background primary, I should say. So we need to be more specific with our button. So what we're going to do is go back here. Going to go put in here. Actually, let's have a look at the DOM. What do we got up here? We've got bricks contents. That'll do. Home page. Bricks is front end. We don't want that because we want this to be available in the editor as well. So I'm going to use this bricks content here. So I'm going to start with that. Bricks content. There we go there. So that's actually fixed that problem there. All right. Now what the hell is going on with that padding? Oh, it looks right there. It's just in the editor. It doesn't look right. Okay. That's not going to work for us either though. So what else do we need? We need a root font size. And we'll just do that the text. We'll use the picker here, go to text, M for now, and root. Font weight, we'll make that say 600. Okay, font size. Font size. It's a little bit more advanced than the other stuff, but once you get this right, it will be absolutely good as a framework. Okay, so these colors aren't going to work for us, but we'll deal with that a little bit later. Okay, the next thing we need to look at is the hover states. So let's have a look at our color and border. Let's grab all the color stuff. So from there, let's grab all of those and add a hover when we're hovering. Okay, so when we're hovering, we want primary, maybe dark. Let's leave the border, maybe actually make that dark as well. Primary dark. I think that's what we did. Let's have a look at the colors. Primary, yes, we did. Okay. So primary dark, then we're going to use our color on hover. That's okay. We'll leave that as it is. We don't need to change block padding. I put that in the wrong place. So these C's here is what we need to change. So let's grab all of those. Why is there 4 there? That's block padding. We don't need a block padding hover. We just need a block padding down here. Gotta love demos. Okay, so there are our states. You might also want to add some focus states as well. I'm just going to show you the concept here. So let's say down here, this is our hover state. We're going to do a root hover. Put those in there, and we're going to say that on hover, we're going to set our background to our background hover. On border, we're going to set our border to our border hover. And on color, we're going to set our color to our color hover. Okay. There you go. There's a very simple transition, has no transition moment. So we're going to start, and I'd probably create some variables around this as well. So initially what we're going to do is we just say that our, where are we there? We're just going to set that to be transition all 0.3 seconds ease. And that just gives us a little bit of a transition there, okay? I would probably create some transitions here. So I'd go back into my CSS, sorry, my variable manager. I would create some transitions. Okay, transitions is a category, and I would do an FW transition duration, and set that to say 0.3 seconds. All right. And then I was going to grab that, and let's create a variation on that. So I'm going to do -- medium, and we're going to make that 0.8 seconds. And we're going to do another one. We're going to call that a slow, and give that a 1.5 seconds. Okay, so we now have 3 transition duration variables as well. Save that. All right, so instead of doing this 3 seconds here, what I would do is take that out, use this. I would type transition. Here's my standard transition duration. I would put that there. Now if I change it in the variables, it's going to change everywhere that it's used, okay? So that is the button class for a primary button as our default. Now let's duplicate that, and let's say we want to do a secondary button. Okay, I'm just going to put some gap in there. Okay, put some gap in there. And on our button here, let's do a FW BTN -- secondary. Okay, what we need to do is go to our first button, go to our CSS style. We're going to basically copy all of that there. Going to go to our secondary class here. We're going to paste that in there. We're going to take out the primary, change it to secondary. Anywhere we've used the word primary, we change that to secondary. We're not changing any of the spacing or font sizes, so that is the only things that we need. We now have a secondary version of that button. So if we look in the front end, primary, secondary. All right, now that's simple enough to do. Now you can do this however you want to do it. You can add whatever functions you want. You can add some focus states, but this is building up your own framework that you just run directly from these CSS variables here. You need no external plugins to do this. I mean, the core framework and ACSS certainly give you a lot more than what this is. You probably want to add some things like some box shadows, all sorts of things that you'd probably add in there. But this gives you a start as to how you would actually create it. And you can also see the benefit of using these maps for the colors, because remember when we went into the colors in here, so if I went into the background there and pick that, if I was to select one of these, it gives us a random generated bricks variable name for that. We don't know what that is, so we can't use it in our CSS unless we know what that is. So simply going through that, spending the time going through, mapping these names to what bricks is given to those colors, just makes sense. Now, I'm going to leave it at that because I think that is a lot to cover. I'll actually make one more comment on this, and the beauty of doing this is that once you get to a point where you want to install some productivity features like Advanced Themer, basically delete your color map, delete your colors out of bricks, generate your colors in AT, and just in AT, tell it to put FW as the prefix for your colors, and then it'll just work with the rest of your framework. So it's a really, really easy way to transition from not having Advanced Themer to having Advanced Themer. So I will cover that much later because that's a lot more in depth than this. All right, I'm going to leave it at that, and hopefully that adds a lot of value to how you're working and makes a lot of sense to you. Thanks for listening, guys.